friends, family. Woo, I'm a little shiny. Anyway, a lot of you all ask me on a regular basis what I do at the airport, and people are interested on how they get a business in the airport. I'm talking to some people today about how that happens, and so I figured I would just deliver the message to the masses so we don't have to keep worrying about delivering the message individually. So I'm going to put you on the camera stand, and I'll be getting started here in just a minute. All right, now how do I... Okay. Oh. Okay. Oh, turn the phone around. Yes. Okay. Good morning. All right. Thank you.
It's time. We're ready. Okay. You know, it is so good to hear the chatter of good networking. Some of you are networking, and some of you are networking, and others of you are networking. It is good to see that this morning. So, from all of what I saw, everyone knows everyone in the room at this point, because no one was stationary. So, it is my honor to present to you our next speaker, Demetra Weidman from the City of Atlanta, Department of Aviation Concessions. Let's give it up for Demetra.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to run a brief video, and then I'll come back to you. I just always like to show off the breadth and the quality of our concessions program. I've been here at the airport 10 years now. I've watched the program really grow and shine in the industry. So let me run this video for you, and then I'll come back and talk to you briefly about doing business with the airport. Okay, again, my name is Demetria Wyman, and I am one of the 2 business development managers for the concessions department at the airport. So what does that mean? That means I help to identify space at the airport, identify uses for that space, and then write the RFPs that the city puts on the street to get vendors into the airport. So I wasn't here earlier, but hopefully you all know that Atlanta is home to the world's busiest airport.
Yes.
So last year we served over 104 million passengers, and we expect that number to continue to increase about 3% every year until eternity. Like, we don't see that slowing down. The airport actually has plans on building new terminals and continuously expanding. So it is probably one of the most exciting places I've ever worked, and it's the most exciting place, I think, in the state of Georgia, or even in the southeastern region. We've got over 2,700 flights per day. We serve hundreds of thousands of passengers every single day. And a lot of people don't know that of these 104 million plus passengers that we serve, nearly 80% of those people are connecting passengers. So they are people that are just in Atlanta for a very brief time. They use us as a hub to get to their other destinations and never set foot into the city of Atlanta. So that's a lot of money that's walking around inside the airport that never experiences the city. And we're doing a lot of things in the airport to try to change that. So you may hear me speak about sense of place when I talk about the different locations that are in the airport. We lean very heavily on local brands, bringing them into the airport, and the places that may seem more generic, like our newsstands. You'll go in and you may be able to see a piece of Atlanta in those newsstands. We believe that the airport is the calling card to the city, right? So you've got all these people coming through, don't know anything about Atlanta. We try to do our best to put Atlanta's best foot forward to attract people into the city, so they're not just connecting here, but that one day they choose Atlanta as a destination. So our concessions program 2 years ago finally surpassed the $1 billion mark. And that's huge in the aviation industry. A couple of other airports have done it prior to us, none of them here in the United States. So that's a great achievement for the program. And I think that it speaks to the quality of program that we have there. So long gone are the days of the very generic hot dog stand in the airport, unrecognizable names. We've got the world's busiest Burger King. We've got the world's busiest PF Chang's. And there are probably 10 to 12 other brands that are #1 or #2 in their brand around the world are located right here in our airport. We've got 2 of the top TGI Fridays in the world. And so we serve a lot of people. As you can see, with 104 million passengers, it's hard not to be in the top of your brand. But it is a place that a lot of companies aspire to be in the airport, and for good reason. They want that exposure, and a lot of people want the opportunity to make that money. So every day I get questions about how to get into the airport, and I hope to be able to give you some of that insight today. Our program is world class. We've been voted best in food and beverage 4 years in a row. And because we're about to go into a refresh for our retail, we expect the retail to take on that same banner in the coming years. So getting into the airport space. There are a couple of ways that you can do business at Hartsfield-Jackson. And I'm going to kind of explain them to you in order of ease of entry, okay? So we've got a lot of people here who may have a stellar product or service that they know the world is just waiting to see, and they know the airport is the perfect place to get in front of those people. It's a very capital-intensive project to get into the airport. I like to be very honest with people. You can't just come in and set up shop. It costs money. But one way that you can get in that may not require as much capital nor as much time is to meet current concessionaires and have your product or service introduced through them. Okay, so we work with a lot of very large operators, HMS Hose, Caribbean Without Air, These are operators that operate in airports around the world. They have a lot of products in their stores. So a good way is to network through those companies and see if you can get a small piece of what they already have going on. And that lets you know a couple of things. Does your product work in the airport space? Not everything works in the airport. How well is it going to be received by travelers? Can you keep up with the demand of an airport of that magnitude? Is this really a space that you want to be in? There are a lot of rules and regulations. We don't let you just come in and set up shop and do whatever you want to do and walk up and down the concourse and advertise your business. None of that happens. We've got a lot of regulations about staying within your lease line and the products that can be sold and how much they can be sold for. So a good way to get in sometimes is to just see if you can become a supplier. You've got that unique of a product that you know will work for travelers, then a lot of these companies will be very willing to talk to you. They refresh their stock on a regular basis, and so you do want to make sure that you're a good fit for the airport environment. So I encourage that. The next opportunity is a partnership. So we've got even the most experienced concessionaires that come into space, and they have brands that don't work. They fall flat. So I'll give you an example. At one time we had a Reebok store that was introduced. And even I said, wow, this is great, because of course people are gonna want running shoes, you never know when you forgot them, some sort of athletic gear. People want that stuff coming to the airport. Out of 100 million passengers, you can get a small piece of that. The store didn't work. We're very limited on space in the airport, so if people come through for a popular shoe size, they only have limited shoe sizes, right? So, and there's nowhere for them to get to it easily besides off airport. And those are, some things that you have to think about. I'm sure they did, but it didn't work. And so along the way of this contract, they had to change the brand out. And that happens regularly. So there could be opportunity to partner with a current concessionaire, not knowing whether or not they're going to change the brand out, but for your brand, because then you're just kind of waiting for a potential partnership that may or may not happen. And then last is the RFP process. And is everyone in here familiar with RFPs? Anybody participated in an RFP process? Okay, so a few of you. So RFP is a request for a proposal. And most government agencies do that. And because the airport is run by the city of Atlanta, that is how we introduce new vendors into the airport space. So the RFP process can be lengthy. It usually is for the airport space because it's an important process to the city of Atlanta. And so, how do we find space in the airport? There are expiring leases for the current locations that you use in the airport. So usually for food and beverage, those are on what we call a 10 and 3. It's a 10-year lease with a 3-year option for renewal. And then retail, which is usually on a 7 and 3. Now we do have some leases that are a little bit shorter, it varies. But for the most part, we're looking at 10+ years for a location to be in the airport. And we do that for a couple of reasons. First of all, the RFP process, again, is long. It's very arduous, but it's fair. And we try to make sure that we're bringing what we think are the best into the airport. And those brands and products and services usually can withstand the test of time with a few changes. Also, it's a very expensive proposition to come into the airport. And if you want to give people the best possible opportunity to get a return on their investment, to make that money back that they spent to build that space out, you gotta give them time. Because again, it's expensive. And people don't usually see a profit for the first 2, 3, sometimes 4 years, based on how much they put into the build out, hiring employees, trying to keep employees, all of those things cost a lot of money. So once we've determined that we have space, and sometimes space is given back to us from airport stakeholders. So Delta may come to us and say, we no longer want to have this break room here on the concourse, or we don't need this gate. And then we take those spaces and develop them into usable spaces, usually for the concessions program. And when we're doing that, we are determining what the spaces will be used for. So we'll look and say, hey, we're under concession for food and beverage on this concourse. What do we need? We've got 5,000 square feet. We can either subdivide it and make them quick serve restaurants, or we can make this a sit down restaurant. And there's this whole process that we go through to financials to make sure it makes good business sense to put these types of restaurants or retailers at this location in the airport. So there's analysis that happens within the airport, and then we also send it out to a third party who does additional analysis for us to make sure that we're making sound business decisions. After we do that, and we've gone through all that process, and we say, okay, this is exactly what we want to do. We've got this space, we're under concession for food and beverage, and there's no burgers on this concourse. It becomes that specific, where we say, in this space, not only do we want food and beverage, but we're looking for burgers. And so now the race is on. And we'll put together an RFP, and if you have not seen one, I encourage you to go visit the city's website so you can see how detailed those documents are. And we'll say, okay, this is what we really want. These are the things you can sell. These are the things you cannot sell in this space, because we try not to cannibalize other business. A lot that goes into that. But now, what can you give to us? And sometimes there's a little flexibility there where we'll say, and if you think there's something better that should go here, by any means, propose it. And groups of people get together, or sometimes single individuals get together and put together a response to that RFP. There's a checklist. You gotta go through, you gotta make sure you've done all the things that we're asking for, that you filled out all the paperwork that we asked you to fill out, and that you submitted in a timely fashion to the city of Atlanta. So we used to set a deadline, 1 p.m. on a Friday. If your proposal comes in at 1:05, you are deemed non-responsive. We won't look at it. If any of the paperwork that we've asked for is not properly completed, you will be deemed non-responsive. We won't look at it. So it's a process where you've got to pay a lot of attention to detail, and you've got to deliver on exactly what the city is asking for. So, people ask all the time, well, how do I know about it? Well, our RFPs are advertised on the City of Atlanta's website. There is no list you can sign up on to be alerted about those advertisements. What we suggest is, if you're familiar with Google, the notices, that you go and put that in, Atlanta, airport, RFP, all those keywords, so you get a notice when it's posted. We do use social media. We tweet about it. We do use Facebook for our procurement department to post them. But it's really up to the business owners to be active in searching for opportunities at the airport. And then you go and pull up those RFPs. But I suggest you don't wait until we've got a new RFP to go and look and see what the requirements are. If you're truly interested in looking at a space in the airport or looking at an opportunity, you have to go now. So today, when you leave from here, go pull up an old RFP and read through it and understand what the qualifications are, and then get your ducks in a row early. Because it's for a single person to put together an RFP in a 2 to 3 month time span, which seems like a lot of time, is not. And you'll be behind the 8 ball if you wait until it's published. Because I can guarantee you your competition is preparing for the possibility now. So I've shared just a little information about how you can go and find additional information. So once you have put your response to the These documents are reviewed in detail by our Department of Procurement downtown. Those are the people that will determine if the evaluation committee even gets it, right? So I told you, you can be deemed non-responsive, and no one will ever see all of your hard work for missing a few lines in paperwork that you're supposed to turn in. But if your RFP, if your response does make it through and to the airport, it goes into the hands of an evaluation committee. And this evaluation committee is usually made up of, or it always is for the airport, made up of airport employees from all different walks of life, all different disciplines in the airport. So these are not all people who understand the restaurant business in and out. They're consumers. They are the traveler. And we pull people in from finance, we pull people in from art, we pull people in from over here at Tech Campus who do planning and development, and then there's always guaranteed to be a concessions professional on every board so they understand the ins and outs of operating in an airport. And these people take your proposals, and in addition to doing their regular job, they take time to review your proposals in detail. And that is because they're passionate about the airport and they want to see us bring the best to the concessions program. So we take a few weeks, we read them in detail, and then we come together as a group and evaluate collectively. So we get down, and there are 3, 4, 5 of us, and we sit in a room all day, and we talk about your individual proposals. And we go through them step by step based on what you're supposed to submit, and we discuss them, and then we come to a consensus on the score. So I don't go in and say I'll give them a 10, and then Sally says, but when I was reading it, I saw a 3. None of that happens. It all happens through collective discussion. And then we go back and forth a little bit, and sometimes we might argue to get our point across, but we all walk away with a consensus on your scoring. And when you see the RFP, you'll see there's 5 or 6 sections that we're scoring. And at the end of the day, when we've evaluated your RFP and the RFPs of the 10 other people that have submitted, there's a score that is assigned, and the award goes to the person with the highest score. So any conspiracy theories you may have heard about getting into the airport, I want to squash those now, because we put a lot of time and heart, blood, sweat, and tears into reviewing these RFPs. And it is an honest and a very transparent system, a very transparent way for us to determine who comes into the airport. Now, some people are very, very good at putting together these RFPs. And when you see the quality of their submittal and the work that they put in to putting those proposals together, then you understand how some of the same players may end up in the airport and why those are good people to partner with. So you have to watch the trends in the industry, not just at our airport, but worldwide. And that will help you figure out why people are winning and why people with these small businesses partner with them and find their way into the airport as well. So we do, from that, we do an award recommendation, and then it goes to the City of Atlanta Council, who then votes on our recommendation. So there's several layers. There are a lot of eyeballs that go on this, including the news. They watch it too, just to see exactly how people get into the airport. It's proved to be a fairly foolproof system. You see a lot of people make noise, but at the end of the day, the findings usually stand because it is a very honest and transparent process. So, requirements. Generally, what we ask for is for people to have been in the business that they're proposing for 3 to 5 years. Sometimes that rule fluctuates depending on what we're asking for and the size of the spaces that we're putting out there. So some packages will have 20 spaces, some packages will have 2. For the smaller packages, we usually lower the experience expectations because it's not as much for someone to handle. But if we're putting together a package that has 18 to 20 spaces, we're going to increase that amount of experience that you need for a bevy of reasons. I don't have to explain that to you all. We just need you to be an experienced operator to take on that sort of load. We usually ask that you have a location in a major transportation hub. Does not necessarily have to be an airport, another high traffic area, based on the numbers. Usually, if there are some services that we don't think are going to get as much traffic, we will take that stipulation out and just ask that you have operated several of these businesses, more than one, just to know that you have just enough experience to hang in there at the airport. And then we also have a minimum annual sales, and again, that's going to vary by the type of space that we're advertising. And that just helps us understand that you can handle the volume. So the investment, and this sometimes is very shocking to people, how much money you got to put into this. So if you have decided to go this alone and you are answering an RFP, you should know that the airport requires a minimum investment of $350 per square foot for locations in the airport. In general, people spend much more than $350 per square foot. That's the minimum. But everything that you do, the materials that you use to build out, it all has to be approved through the airport. And so we require materials that are durable. For that amount of traffic, you can't put cheap stuff in the airport. People will run it down. They're in and out of your locations with suitcases, heels, boots, everything. And so what we try to do is be opening day fresh. We always want our locations to look nice. And no amount of cleaning is going to do that for you with cheap materials. So $350 is the floor, but we see people spend $700, $800 per square foot building out an airport. So $700 per square foot with 20 locations, it's a lot of money. The proposition to build in the airport, the contractors that will take on that job are generally more expensive. There's a lot of liability. The insurance is high. Anytime that you're going to drive a vehicle out on the airfield near aircraft, the insurance is high. So, because you need to be able to be covered if you hit that aircraft. And people hit aircraft on a regular basis. It happens. And those are things that people don't think about. Yourself, to get your product to your location. Let's forget the construction people. You got to be able to drive out on the airfield, which means you have to carry insurance like that as well. So that has to be figured in. You know that we're going to make sure that you're licensed and bonded. That's more money that you have to put up. So I don't tell people that to scare them away, but I think people should know. Because even if you've got the greatest t-shirt business in the world, we're still going to give the same requirements to you to operate. And sometimes people just can't carry that sort of liability trying to open up the greatest t-shirt stand in the world in the airport, even though they see the money. Also, when you hire employees, you've got to pay for their background checks and their badges and the cost to onboard them. And turnover in the airport is high. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a restaurant in the atrium on Monday and seen the same cashier at a restaurant on Concourse F on Friday. They quit and they go where the money is. And so turnover is extremely high in the airport, and it's hard to keep good employees out there. So you've got to be cognizant. You've got to know that your employees will go for the next best offer, and sometimes you got to hire your cousin for a little while to keep them afloat. And we've seen it. It happens time and time again. And the leases are long. So we talked about the 7 and 3, the 10 and 3. You've got to be in it. Hopefully you would be for the long run. And if your brand doesn't work, there are ways to get out, but it's not easy. And people can find themselves in
situation where they're in the airport for a long time, trying to get out, but we still want our money. We've got that minimum annual guarantee, and that's something you need to look into. That's what we ask for rent in the airport. It's a MAG, and you are guaranteeing us this amount of money annually. And then if you do well, we want more. So there's a percentage rate. And we're gonna take whichever is greater. Yeah, we give you all these passengers, we want our money. And so when you're looking at these RFPs, please take a look at those mags. Understand what we're asking for. Rent's not per square foot. It's based on historical sales for that location. Prime real estate at the middle of our busiest concourse is gonna cost you more than a space that's at the end. But then, you know, the trade-off is less traffic, and of course, lower sales. But the city is, we're gonna get our money. So if you go in there and bid high and say you wanna pay us all this money, when you sign that contract, you're going to pay us all of that money until you find someone else to come into that space, and that's business, it's not personal. The city makes money off of the airport, obviously. It's a huge economic engine to the southeastern region, and so you have to pay to play. Okay? There's no free rent in the airport, no matter how important you think your product or service is to the travelers. So right now, we don't have a lot of opportunities available. There is one RFP that anyone that's in the food and beverage business, there's one RFP that is on the street that I would encourage you to go look at. And even if you're not in food and beverage, you do retail, you do services, go take a look at what we're currently asking for people to operate. This is an off-airport or airport location. This is at our rental car center. So hopefully you've been over there recently, you know that we consolidated all of our rental car operations to one single building. You take the SkyTrain over to it, and that's where all the people go to rent their cars, and there is currently no food and beverage there. So there's a huge opportunity to service people that are utilizing the rental car center. I believe we're asking for a hybrid location, so you're able to, when we say hybrid, it's a hybrid between food, beverage, and retail. So you're able to offer some retail and hopefully some coffee and some other great snacks to our travelers over at the rental car center. It also services the employees that work over there. And I think a lot of times people forget about airport employees. So the airport has nearly 68,000 employees. It's a small city that runs out there every day, and we get hungry too. And we patronize a lot of those businesses. I know I do too much. I looked at my bank statement the other day, and I've got to quit eating at the airport. But I do on a regular basis. I also shop at the airport. It's convenient for me to grab things at the last minute. We have an annual sale for employees during Christmas time. I try to rack up then. It works in my favor to shop and eat at the airport. And so the same thing happens over there at the rental car center. They're kind of in a food desert over here. There's nowhere to go that's close. And so there are a couple hundred employees over there, not just the people behind the counters, but the people that are out there washing cars and moving them around and maintenancing cars. All of those people are able to utilize the rental car center and need this option. So this proposal is due October the 8th. You're in luck because the pre-proposal was just rescheduled to the 19th of this month. So even if you wanted to come and just kind of hang out and see how this process works, I would encourage it. The pre-proposal will be over here at Tech Campus. Please refer to the RFP for the exact time. But you can come over and sit in the back in silence. You don't have to say anything, but listen to my counterpart in business development talk about the proposal. Listen to the people from finance and risk talk about what the requirements are and how you should fill out the paperwork. Listen to our partners in OCC who handles our minority participation talk about what the requirements are and how they found the businesses that would be required to participate. Because you should also know that the city of Atlanta usually has a minority participation stipulation in all of the RFPs that we put out for the airport. And that percentage can fluctuate, but it's been holding pretty strong around 41%. And those for the airport contracts, they're not DBEs, they are what we call ACDBEs. And those are airport concessions, disadvantaged business enterprises. And there's a different certification process for that. These are all things you want to know. There are not that many ACDBEs, and so people are aggressively looking for them. The certification process goes through MARTA and GDOT, and you got to go to those people to kind of check out that process, but just know that it's a valuable certification to have if you can get it. So this is currently the only advertised opportunity that we have. We've got a couple of pending procurements, and I'm not going to speak too in depth about these. They've been in the news, so you can read about them, and I don't want to be in the news. So we've got a couple of opportunities that are floating, and we're unsure how these are going to move. One of them is Retail 2018. This is one of those big deal procurements that we did with 88 retail spaces. There's a possibility if this project moves forward as awarded, that we still will have to put certain packages back out. So there will be some opportunity, whether the whole thing goes back out, or we just put the 3 or 4 packages that weren't awarded back out, so that I would keep an eye out for things like that. That happens from time to time. We also have 2 restaurants located on Concourse B, and the E-Food Court and restaurants. Those are things that are pending, and I'm not at a pay grade high enough to tell you what's going to happen with them. But I just tell people to watch. You never know. And they could end up back out on the street. And that's a lot of opportunity. Just those first 3 things, that's millions of dollars in opportunity that could be represented to the city of Atlanta. We're also in the process of awarding network entertainment systems. So those are all the televisions and all the gate holds. We just had an RFP for 2 spa locations, 2 Traveler Oasis locations, and just yesterday, I think, luggage carts closed out. But these are just great case studies for you to go and take a look at to see if this is a business that you want to be in. And then future opportunities, and these are a little ways off, but I just told you that number, that 104 million, is going to continue to increase. So we've got Concourse T is expanding, and then in the future we're going to build 2 new concourses, Concourses G and H. So those are things that we know about immediately, but again, there are always opportunities that come up, and you should just tune in regularly. And so that's all I have. That's my little insight to my corner of the world. Are there any questions? So I'm going to work my way this way. If I can fill in right here.
Of course, it has to do with design for retail spaces and concession spaces. How's that process? How far ahead are you in determining who will be able to participate in that?
So that is out of that's not in my realm. The design is done independently by the operators. They determine who is going to do their build outs. So when you go to these pre-proposals, it's good for you to hook up with the people who are looking to propose on those spaces, and they find their architects and contractors independently. We don't have anything to do with that. Yes, ma'am.
For the sake, excuse me, for the sake of time, we're going to ask that you all email your questions to the chamber, and they will then forward your questions to Ms. Wyman, and she will get the responses for it.
And I promise I will respond.
Can you spell your name for us, please?
Well, actually, I've got some cards. I'll send you a card, but please send your questions through the chamber and back, and they'll make sure they come to me collectively so I don't get 50 million emails. Okay? All right. Thank you. Okay.
That was very, very informative, I would say. How about you? Think that was informative? Let's give a round of applause to the City of Atlanta's Department of Engagement. And then let's really give a round of applause to Demetra Whiteman from the Conception Department. She's going to email her presentation to me, and then I will e-blast it out to all of you. Once again, when you came in, if you did not stop by